Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to Mod Extra Games and Collectibles. Absolute pleasure to have you with me here today. It's time for another action figure review, and as you can see on the screen right now, today's installment, we're going to be taking a closer look at the Marvel Legends series Jean Grey Phoenix Force. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know if you're thinking about picking up this figure set for yourself. Going to talk you through the packaging experience, then share the aesthetic visual experience that I've had with the figure, talk you through the articulation and posability, and then finish up by taking a closer look at the accessories and added value. And with all that said and done, if you're on the fence, if you've not made your mind up about whether you're going to buy this set or not, hopefully all the info I've given you today will help you make your mind up. So let's not dilly-dally around, let's get into it, and let's go back in time now to past Chris opening up the package for the very first time when it arrived on my doorstep. All right then, folks, well, here we are. Here is the Phoenix, the Jean Grey Phoenix Force from Marvel Legends series in box, arrived on my doorstep here at Mod Extra Games and Collectibles Towers just a few hours ago, now getting around to opening it up. So let's have a quick look at the packaging experience. We've got the windowed box there showing off the figure, all the accessories and goodies, obviously making a big feature of the Phoenix Flame accessory extra piece thing that's going on there, as well as showing off the two different head swaps, with this kind of flame motif coming up at the side, which sort of ties into the artwork on the side here that we'll have a look at. Jean Grey Phoenix Force Phoenix across the bottom there. Lovely stuff. Then here on the back, we've got this digital render image of the figure in action, showing off, you know, some of the possibilities, some of the potential with it, with this flame motif continuing in the background. Little bits of biographical information there in various different languages down the side, all the legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. Even more legal bollocks and malarkey across the very bottom. Phoenix symbol there on the top. And then a little bit of artwork here down the right-hand side of the box. That's the cover of the Phoenix Omnibus Collected Edition, which I believe the artist is Russell Dauterman. Dauterman, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but yeah, I recognise that. But it's like a redo of the original Phoenix artwork from back in the Chris Claremont, John Byrne days, which is nice to see. Although a bit of a shame that it doesn't feature more heavily like on the back or something, but there you go. All right, well, not a great deal else to say. It's certainly an eye-catching piece of packaging. It's got its own little kind of colour scheme and motif to it there that sets it apart from some of the other Marvel Legends series stuff, but it's still uniform enough that if you mint in box, you know, it'll sit on the shelf alongside everything else, looking nice and well, uniform. What's another word for uniform? To keep your shelf looking nice and consistent, to give it some continuity. There you go. There's some more words. So I'm going to go away now and crack this open, get some good solid man-child playtime in with the figure and all that extra exciting goodies that are in there. And I'll be back in a couple of days to offer you guys some review thoughts. So stick around. Future Chris is going to be with you in 3, 2, 1. All right then, folks. Well, let's get into the aesthetic qualities of the figures. Let's talk about the visual experience. Although the figure alone, I would argue, you know, when we get to the accessories and added value later, the figure alone doesn't give you the full kind of visual impact of this set in. So stick around till the end of the video to get the full experience. But here she is, and she came out of the packet. A lot to like and a lot to dislike, but the overall visual experience, spoiler alert, the overall visual experience is positive with just the figure alone, although I've got some gripes, if I'm being perfectly honest. Bringing her in then a bit nearer to the camera so that we can conduct a closer inspection of these aesthetic qualities. I'm going to start by talking about the head. Now, fundamentally, there's nothing actually wrong with the head. It's a decent sculpt. The paint applications are well applied. You know, the lips, the eyebrows, the eyes with the eyeshadow there. The green colour in her eyes is lovely. Really, really nice. And, of course, the hair sculpt is very well sculpted. Got a little bit of a wash on it there. Let's bring it back a bit so you can see that. Got a bit of a wash on it there. So it's fundamentally a decent head sculpt. I just don't like it. Or I should say, I don't like this one that she has on her when she comes out of the box. We'll take a look at the second head a bit later on in the vid. But yeah, I can't put my finger on it. There's something I'm just not too keen on. It's like the look in her face just doesn't feel right, which is weird because I'm often criticising Marvel Legends for having like vanilla face sculpts, and she's got a little bit of a smile, nice and big and wide-eyed. You know, there's good stuff going on there, and it's fundamentally a good face sculpt. The facial features are well-defined and everything. The paint, like I say, the paint applications, but I just kind of don't like it. It just looks a bit goofy to me. I can't articulate why, and I invite you to head into the comments below to perhaps posit a theory as to why it's not sitting right with me. And while we're on the subject of the head, I don't know if you can see it, it's a very minor little QC issue, but I've got a tiny paint spill, a little tiny bit of red paint spill on the forehead there, which I presume has come from the eyebrows, when the eyebrow paint was applied. It's really small, but once you see it, you can't stop seeing it. It's one of those classic situations that I've mentioned in the past when you see something and then that's all you can see. So it's a little bothersome, but you know, I'll remove it in time. I've just left it on for the purposes of this video. And also, while I'm zoomed in and getting nice and close to the camera, I just wanted to mention about the hair sculpt. Interesting choice to kind of have it blowing in the wind, wisping off to the the left of the screen, but the right of the figure there. I don't have a problem with it fundamentally. I like the figures to look a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more energized, but it does kind of limit some of your posing options. So visually, the way the hair is flowing, some of the poses I've put her in, I'm like, well, now the hair looks like it's flowing in the opposite direction or it's a bit back to front or backwards. So they've kind of pinned you into a particular sort of space when using this head as to how you want to pose it up, which is, an interesting choice. All the embellishments on the uniform are painted on, so the Phoenix symbol on the front here in this lovely gold paint on top of that little black section there, that little V black section on the top there. The long gloves, the boots, they're all painted on. That's a little bit of a disappointment. This is a regular gripe I have about Marvel Legends, particularly with boots and shoes. They're often not sculpted on, they're painted on, particularly after Warbird. Now, I've not got Warbird in hand, but I've seen pictures, and the Warbird is sculpted boots, which, you know, means it's possible. It's on this new book as well, so they've obviously got the tooling for it, and it just bothers me. I find the painted on things like, you know, thigh-high boots a little bit of a disappointment, but hey, what are you going to do? Also, while I'm talking boots, I don't know if you can see this under the lights, but there's some gold paint flecks across the top of the thighs on both of the legs, in fact. And let me swivel that one around to the front, see if you can see it under the lights. Can you see the gold flecks there that have spilled out onto the legs? A little bit more kind of loosey-goosey with the QC there, Marvel Legends. The musculature's good. The the tight spandex is pulled tight over her abs, over her boobies, you know. That's all good. It's not quite as textured as we've seen with some Marvel Legends figures of late. They kind of flip-flop back and forth to a plain, to a textured. We've got some little touches. You can see some sort of pulled tight bits right there around the hips and on the side of the legs here. Can you see that around the musculature on the legs? But otherwise, it's very flush, very sheer, which I don't always appreciate. But then you've got the belt, this little scarf belt here with the Phoenix symbol on it, just adding a little bit of textured detail. And again, some dynamic motion with the way that's sort of draped and falling down to the side. Not a great deal of movement on this to swivel it, though. So you're kind of trapped with that again, sort of pinned into it, looking and feeling in a very specific way. The shiny gold paint job on the boots and the gloves and the belt it stands out, gives a shelf presence. The flash of red hair, classic Jean Grey, you know. So aesthetically, all those pieces are in place. So overall, it's a thumbs up. The visual experience is solid. It's sound. It's decent. As I mentioned earlier, when we get a closer look at the accessories, the full visual experience isn't in the figure itself. Of course, the massive flaming Phoenix accessory there, added value bit, changes things up significantly, as does the second head sculpt. So we'll look at those imminently. But overall, it's solid. It's a sound figure. It's not straying too far away from the kind of standard central line of Marvel Legends. Would I like sculpted boots and gloves? Yes, I would. Would I like a little bit more textured detail in the clothing, some more fabric texture detail? Yes, I would. But otherwise, overall, it's fine. And I think the head sculpt thing is just me, it's personal preference. I'm just not a fan of the head sculpt. I don't think there's anything actually wrong with it. So because of all that, I'm going to give it a thumbs up, maybe a 75% thumbs up, around there. All right, well, let's take a closer look at the articulation now, shall we? So Phoenix is on the new Marvel Legends female book. If you're already familiar with this from Black Widow and Warbird, Miss Marvel, the aforementioned Miss Marvel Warbird. And you're not interested in seeing the articulation bit, I put timestamps in down below so you can skip along a chapter and join me again for the accessories and added value. But if you'd like to see the new book or are interested to know if there's any particular quirks with the figure, then stick around. I'll walk you through it. So starting all top with the head then, it's a ball at the base of the head, no hinge in the neck and no ball at the base of the neck. So you've got some decent down, no up at all, although that's more because of the hair sculpt than it is because of the ball. You can swivel all the way around if you're so inclined, following the curve of the hair, and you can get a little bit of tilt and swivel. So it's all right. It's reasonable. It's obstructed by the hair more than anything else. Moving down into the shoulders, you can see we've got a butterfly joint on each side there, giving you a bit of shuffle back and forward. Then it's the pegged in arms, so you can swivel all the way around, full 360, hinge out into the T like so, which is all very good and handy dandy. Got the swivel at the top of the bicep and tricep. You got the pinless elbow that'll get you up to there. Then the classic pegged in Marvel Legends hands, so you can swivel all the way around, and then both the hands have the hinge forward and back like so. We've seen these hands like a bazillion times now. They really need to take a closer look at the female Marvel Legends hands. I actually find them a little bit disproportionate. I didn't mention this earlier in the video because I've said it so many times in previous ones, but the female hands, when splayed out like this, look a bit disproportionate to me. But other opinions are available, I suppose. Then we've got the articulation here across the torso, that I think a barbell joint in there, giving you some nice swivel and sort of crunchy action there. We've also then got an ab crunch here, which is disguised by the belt, which gives you even more forward and even more back. So a wide range of motion with your Phoenix figure there. Then we've got the standard hip joint with the balls at either end, giving you a decent forward. You can get out to about there in terms of the Russian ballet splits. Thigh cut there, giving you a swivel at the top of the thigh. Pinless double knee, that'll get you up to there. And then the standard hinge and rocker in the feet area, giving you articulation at the ankle. Nothing in the way of boot cut. So I said it when I reviewed Black Widow. I'm sure I'll say it again when Warbird finally drops and I review her. This new female book is a vast improvement on the Marvel Legends female characters, and I'm a supporter. I'm a fan. I've found myself getting a little bit more interested kind of flight poses with her, using a flight stand, a little bit more interesting in terms of the combat-y action style poses. The added articulation doesn't give you a great deal of extra stuff when it comes to interacting the figure with the big flaming phoenix, so we'll have a look at in a second. But as a new standard for female characters, yeah, I'm into it, definitely into it, and I enjoy the new articulation a great deal. In terms of Phoenix herself, the only quirk that has frustrated me when it's come to posability and getting her into certain poses is the limited movement around the head. Could have really done with a hinge or a second ball at the base of the neck, but of course the hair sculpt's kind of getting in the way of that a great deal. But I always feel like I've just got this kind of weird sort of downward looking motion. I can't quite get her head to look back enough for some of the stuff I've been trying to do, but that's the only kind of critical quirk I've got. So as far as articulation goes, yeah, big thumbs up, massive supporter of this new female book articulation scheme, 100%. Okay, well, there we go. There's articulation. Let's now take a look at the accessories and added value, shall we? And to start us with the accessory selection, I have got the head swap and the hand swaps on the figure right now. The hand swaps are two closed fists. Same again, we've seen these in Marvel Legends a bazillion times. I still feel like these are disproportionate. In the opposite direction to the open palm hands, I feel like the closed fists on the ladies look a bit diminutive, but there you go. But it's handy, if you want to get her posed up about to kick Emma Frost's ass in the back room of the Hellfire Club, then you've got that. This head sculpt, though, is definitely my preferred head sculpt. I love this one much more than I like the other kind of smiling normal Jean Grey. The glowing eyes there look great. The stern, I'm a galactic almighty power look in her face looks awesome. The facial features are really good, and I love the wild craziness of the hair there. This is most definitely the head sculpt that I will be using more frequently than not with this one. I mean, look at it. And with the wash through the red hair there, just giving it loads of depth and texture. Those glowing eyes look great. Yeah, really impressed. And I'll tell you what else, she looks brilliant if you get a bit of a red light glowing on her. I mean, look at that. Is that intimidating or what? Love it. And then, of course, we got this big, beefy, flaming phoenix bird here, which is just an incredible display piece. It looks fantastic to my mind. And it ought to, really, for the inflated price tag that this set has been sold for, presumably because of all this added plastic inside of it. Coming in a bit closer on the phoenix bird itself, you can see all this lovely feathery textured detail sculpted into it all the way out to the outer wings. What are these longer feathers out here called? There's a word for these. If anyone knows, let me know. I like to learn words. But all this lovely sculpted textured detail, and then, of course, the changing flame colours through the kind of transparent style of plastic, this orange and red and flashes of yellow in there. Really, really great. The head itself is really good. As you can see, it's articulated there at the neck, but that's about it. You can just go left or right. So if you want to have it kind of like behind her, like so. The eyeballs are painted. You can see they're painted in there, but lovely sculpted detail with the beak and the eyes and the contours in the feather shape. Again, really, really lovely. And then you've got the flame base here. Again, this lovely swirling, very dynamic swirling, flamey effect there, making it feel a little bit more kind of supernatural, a little bit more comic booky in tone, kind of an unnatural kind of flaming pattern there, all wisping up. I'll show you how it clips in a minute, but all wisping up here. Again, different shades of orange, red, yellow, flicks of yellow in there at the end, you can see, which is really, really nice. You can see the way it clips in there. You can see the contours of the flames then kind of meeting the contours of the feathers up the back of the bird here. Let's just raise my camera a bit so that it all kind of intermingles and mixes in. It looks like the phoenix is truly rising from the flames, which is lovely. So it's a really nice piece, incredibly eye-catching. The shelf presence of this is just second to none. My family, who, broadly speaking, pay no attention to my man-child playtime antics, all were like, whoa, what's that? You know, it caught their eye as I was playing around with it the other day. I was like, yeah, this is my new Phoenix. Look at this. It's awesome. So the visual experience as far as this piece of accessory goes is outstanding. And as I mentioned before, when I was reviewing the figure, you know, the full visual experience you don't really get unless you combine the figure and the bird. One thing I will say, though, is it's a total fuss. It's an absolute faff. Kind of putting it all together. I was going to separate it again. I obviously put it together straight away out of the box, and I've been playing around with it the last couple of days, and then I thought, oh, I'll take it apart for the review. And I've clicked it all together so tightly that I'm struggling to take it apart now. And I was like, well, is anyone going to actually take it apart? But I believe there is an intent, actually, that you can use the separate pieces. So there's two separate flame sections in here that have clipped together. If I lift it up there, you can see the clip line here where they've sort of dovetailed into one another and clipped on. And then there's this third piece that goes into the bottom, which is the bit I actually can't get out. I can't get this off this bit. I've clicked it so tightly and firmly in there that it's causing me a few problems. So you can, and it is the intent with the piece to take it apart and be able to use the two separate flame sections, you know, independently if you want to, for different types of kind of dynamic, flamey pictures and displays and stuff. But I've been struggling to get this plastic piece off the bottom. But once you have got it together, look, it looks outstanding. It is a solid piece for sure. It's just a real faff. And it's not very intuitive either. You open the box and you look at these three pieces and you're like, what? And then there's like a peg on the top one that goes over the top. And then when that peg goes in that peg hole on the bottom one, but then you realise that you've also got these this overlapping kind of clip piece that has to circle in. You know, in order to fit it in, you have to kind of sort of swivel it in. But when you've put your peg piece in, you can see it there. It's very, you know, how are you supposed to swivel it in if you've pegged it in? It was just like very unintuitive. So I found it a real faff and a ball ache to get it all together. But once I did get it together, it was okay. The faffiness doesn't end though, because when you want to interact the bird with this, and I've had to sort of figure it out for myself as well, because I'm not one for watching other people's reviews before I make my own. I didn't really want to dive into someone's video to see, but I think these two wisps here, with that, you see they've got these sort of channels in there. I think that's where you sit the wings, and then you've got this kind of contour shape at the back there that matches the contours of this tail in here. But you've got these kind of these bits here, so you have to do a bit of sort of bending out and you have to get quite firm to sort of slot it in. Right, there you go. I had to take it off camera to fiddle with it a bit, but you see I've had to sort of bend this bit forward so it's sitting on the front there, and then I've got this bit sort of bent back so you can see it sort of clamping it in at the bottom, and then these two wisps clamping it in at the wings there. So it it's all right. It's just a bit like fidgety. And you feel like you're being a bit too rough with it, but you're really not. I've been really quite rough with this and got it into place. Then in terms of the figure interacting with it, you've got this kind of foothold, leg hole here. And I believe, again, there's no instructions, so you have to just sort of intuit this. I've been bending the foot down and plugging it in like so. And it goes quite far down. There you go. You have to get a bit rough with it to get your Phoenix in position, and then I've just been doing the kind of classic knee up pointy-toed thing, sort of putting that there, and then kind of getting her hands out like this. It's a bit wibbly wobbly there, and yeah, there you go. That's it. And your visual, that is a pretty stunning. Let me just change the lighting up a bit. That's a pretty stunning, eye-catching piece of shelf presence there once you've got it all together. Although it's not without its flaws. Like, see how the hair is meeting the bird at the back. So if you want to sort of bend out, get a sort of, you have to finesse it quite a bit to get her into a decent piece of positioning, and then making sure she's sort of nice and centered there. You have to fiddle around with your thigh cut and stuff to get it to where you want it to be. But once you've got it there, it does look really tremendous. So the accessory selection is good. I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but there is the question of added value, and it does come with a hefty price tag for all this, and you do get a lot in there for it. But I don't know if it's good, solid added value. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the expansion of your playtime, or the kind of range of variety when it comes to posing or photography. You kind of very much in a very singular space with it, and I'll happily, if anyone was to jump in the comments and say, well, that's a lack of imagination on your part, Chris, then I'll happily accept that. But I don't know if it's adding value. So I'm still going to give it a thumbs up, because I think the bird is outstanding. It's really great. I mean, the implementation's a little bit shaky. It's not, like I say, it's not as intuitive and comprehensive as I would have liked it to have been. But when you got her all sort of decked up in that, and then I put her on the shelf with a couple of other X-Men, I was like, yeah, fucking hell, that looks really good. So I've got to give it a thumbs up. But whether it's added value, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think? But there we are. There's the accessories. Let's have a quick peek next to a couple of other figs, shall we? So here's a couple of obvious comparisons here. Some recent Jean Grey releases, some other Jean Grey / Phoenix releases. Past, 12 months, 18 months. Got the VHS animated series Jean Grey here. Got the retro card back Dark Phoenix on the right there. And yeah, you know what? Like, looking at them next to each other, you can definitely see the movement forward with regards to the articulation. And you know what? The sculpting quality stands out better as well in terms of the musculature and the the tightness of her spandex and all that, and the head sculpts are comparable, though, I suppose. But the main thing is the quality of articulation is just leaps and bounds above the other two. One thing I was curious about was a little cheeky head swap between these two. But our new Phoenix here is slightly smaller than the other, and the ball joint in particular is smaller, so it's a bit weebly wobbly. You probably have to, tap that down or something. But I mean, it looks fine, but it's it's not very reliable if you're trying to get it posed up for a picture or something. Of course, I imagine some folks will want to get it posed up with a Cyclops. This is the only Cyclops I own. Again, it's the VHS animated series version of the figure. I don't have the kind of old X Factor one with the condom head balaclava type thing. But yeah, there you go. There's a Cyclops next to it. If you get a feel for what that would look like. And then just to give you a sense of the overall kind of size and scale of the, the total combined piece of the figure and the Phoenix from the Flame, here she is next to my Hulk. This is, what's this one? An anniversary edition cardback Hulk. I've forgotten which anniversary. They seem to have lots of anniversaries, Marvel anniversaries, Avengers anniversaries and stuff. But that's from one of the anniversary lines. And that's it, folks. Just a quick set of final thoughts. I've not bothered with the turntable today because she's too big on the turntable to fit in my light box properly. But the bottom line is, all the key components of this are pretty good. It's a decent set. I think it might be slightly overpriced, but it's a decent set overall. Is it as, star-spangled, flaming awesome as they would have liked us to have thought it was, and our sense of anticipation and hope for it? Well, no, actually, I don't think it's quite as amazing as it was sold to us on the stream, and I've not found it quite as mind-blowingly great as initially I had hoped. But is that the expectations game? Were my expectations too high? Possibly was the case, because I'd be lying if I said I hadn't had a lot of fun with this over the last couple of days, even if it has just been various iterations of this pose and setup here, So it's a well put together package, just some of the implementations slightly off, and it's a little bit faffy, but it does look really freaking fantastic. And I had fun with it. And what more do you actually want? I had a good quality man-child playtime this week. So thumbs up for Jean Grey Phoenix. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming and hanging out. I know there's a multitude of other YouTube channels reviewing figures that you could have spent your time with today, and you chose to spend your time with me, and for that, I am very, very grateful. If you have found this useful, if it's helped you make a buying decision with the Phoenix Force, then, drop us a like, let me know that it's working. Or if it's not working, drop us a dislike. Just make sure you hit it twice to be sure it's worked. And if you fancy, subscribing, I'd love you even more for that. But it's my sincere hope that I'll see you around these parts again sometime soon for another video. Otherwise, all that remains to say is that I hope you have a great day, hope you have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next time. All right, so yeah, take it easy, folks.